Hey there, this is Jim the Keys bartender. I'm here with Papa Joe. Say hi, Papa Joe.
Hey, how we doing, everyone?
Yeah. Hey, you guys have been hearing a lot from me, and I know you probably think it's probably pretty strange, but we're in the Keys, and starting on this past Monday, we didn't open up. The checkpoints are still there. A lot of people don't understand. And matter of fact, I was just talking to Papa Joe before we came on the air. I was interviewed by Jerry Brazzi, a gentleman who has a podcast out of Portland, Oregon, and he, when people hear about the checkpoints on the Keys, and I think we're just going to briefly talk about it, just a couple minutes, just to reiterate the reason why. I think, Joe, you probably describe it probably better than I do. There's a checkpoint. I'll explain this part. There's a checkpoint on Cardstown Road leading up to 905, and there's a checkpoint leading up on the stretch, which is US 1, leading into the Keys, connected to the mainland. And it's restricting people who are just residents or have legitimate business or have properties down here. So the thinking behind the checkpoints, Joe.
Well, first and foremost, we have 3 hospitals in a 150-mile stretch of the Keys. None of them have trauma centers. All of them limited resources, and a total of 153 beds, I believe.
Yep, and nine ventilators.
9 ventilators. Now, of course, everyone could say you could always get more ventilators. Mm-hmm. But when you have an outbreak, if we had hundreds that were sick, there's 153 beds, which means now we're sending people to Miami, and we're compounding the problem in the Miami hospitals, who are, in fact, still growing exponentially in cases and, unfortunately, in deaths. So it's really important to support not only the people in the Keys and the hospital staff here, but it really supports Miami-Dade primarily, and then Broward counties in keeping what they're going through from getting worse.
Yep.
And people don't realize that. It's 153 beds. And if the overflow has to go into an area that's a hot spot for Florida. So when I tell people that, normally they sort of go, "Oh, well, I didn't realize that." Yeah, well, that seems to be the missing bit of information when
I
when
think
you're telling
when
you
people hear it, they get the imagery of the fallout bunker, and there's a disaster that occurs, and people jump into the fallout bunker and say, "Fuck everyone else. We're going to take care of ourselves." That's we're afraid and stuff, but it's actually a legitimate way of being able to restrict the spread of infections. Okay, and that's it. That's
absolutely.
It. That's
Listen,
it.
no
and
one. If you were to ask the sheriff, I don't want to speak for the sheriff. But having been a law enforcement officer, I think any law enforcement official, no one wants to limit the free movement of people, especially in a county that depends on visitors for business. But this rises way above that concern, and it's an impact, obviously, that would happen here in this county, and it's it adds to the massive impact currently being experienced by Dade and Broward counties.
Yep, that's right. We're right directly north of us. We feed directly through those counties. Well, I think we covered that. I don't mean to cut you short on that, but you did a stellar job describing it.
All right, thank you.
And yesterday, was the phased reopen of all of Florida with Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, I think, that
yes,
they're the ones that are given a bit of leeway on how they're going to open, because they are the lion's share of cases are occurring in those areas. So for once, there's some moderation in the decision-making capability coming out of the governor's office in Tallahassee. So in the Keys, we are opening up, but not opening up to the outside world as much as that we are doing it locally. And some of the businesses started opening up yesterday. I didn't go out myself because, first of all, I'm harbinging my resources. So I would love to support local businesses, but I don't have the. And I do tell people, since if you do have the resources, please promote those local businesses that are opening up. And with especially for restaurants that are opening up right now, it's doing 25%. They're any restaurant you're going right now is doing it for their workers and the community, because they're losing money in that with 25%. But I salute them, and I know Snappers opened up. And I knew the places probably that were doing takeout, like Alfredo's, and I think the Blackwater Siren is opening up. So we'll hear.
Yeah, we went by there. We went by there on the boat 2 days ago, and it looked like there were some boats on the back dock. So I would guess that maybe they've opened up a little bit as well.
Yeah. And we wish them all the best of luck. The Catch will be coming back, but, it's a personal decision with that. And they were doing a lot of maintenance, doing a deep cleaning and maintenance and getting ready for opening up. They're probably going to do it on phase 2. But the weather is lovely down here. Unfortunately, we're not open to the public. The parks are open up. We've been there. I went to the Rouse Marina with my wife and daughter. You've been on the water. There's a lot of, even though there is checkpoints, there's people probably making their way down here on boat. Yeah. So whenever there's a restriction. So I think we covered. I wanted to say on Thursday, around 4:00, we'll have an interview with the mayor of Key West.
How about that?
Terry Johnston. And I'll, we're gonna find out about their plans, how things are opening up there. The Keys are going to have a lot of, our elected officials are really going to have their work cut out for them, because we did mention in our previous shows that over 50% of our economy is based on tourism, and we've just blasted a big hole in that. And that tourism isn't like a spigot. Once you turn it off, doesn't mean it's going to come right back. And since we do know from the county that won't come back until after May. If it does, now that's tentative. At the end of May, the checkpoints will open up. But we're going to move on, and after that, unless we have more things to talk about with the Florida Keys. I mean, it's been beautiful down here. It's been particularly dry, dry, not humid. And it was in the low to mid 80s. It's in the mid 80s today, but we haven't had the upper 80s or 90s yet. The weather's been great. And actually at night, it's almost like a chill when that humidity's low. So what do you think?
Very comfortable. Oh, yeah. Very comfortable. And I'll say this.
What?
I think when it opens up, I think it will, at least initially, there'll be a good amount of people coming back. And I kind of watch how the local fishermen and the guides who have really taken a hit during this, when they do go out, because obviously there's less fishing going on right now, they are coming back with, I'm talking phenomenal catches. I mean, routinely really large snapper, grouper, yellowtails everywhere. So like a lot of places in the world, when you limit human activity, that in this case, the fish kind of come back, I guess would be the term. But guys that are going out, man, even backcountry, they're slaying them, man. And I really hope when it opens up, that they go right back to doing as good as they did, because I'm telling you, the fishing's amazing down here right now.
Okay, well, that would be a great promotion for TDC. If you want to really promote to the places outside of the Keys and promote the fishing, because fishing, women are getting into fishing more often, but it's mainly a male endeavor. So if you had made up, some advertising, some T-shirts, some hats, come to the Keys, you'll get some snapper. That may be a good I just thought of that. Yeah. Oh, snapper. And then you put pause. The fish, may have a girl holding up a fish. One of those girls at the Fishing Monster magazine or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated. Yeah.
Okay, so, hey, listen, I don't want to break the trend. I don't know if it's the third episode, but I can't go without mentioning we've had listeners from the Dutch village of Leiderdorp downloading our shows, and I've been remiss not previously when we had the listeners from Iran and Nepal, not mentioning them, but unfortunately, when you say Iran, they don't really give the village that they're listening from. And that would kind of suck, because I guess if in Iran, if they mentioned the village they were from, and then they would say, then the, what do they call it? The Revolutionary Guard would send their people over and say, doesn't Muhammad have an internet connection there? And Muhammad speaks English. So, but there's no problem me saying Leiderdorp, and I found out some additional information about it. First of all, we're going to be posting a picture of their flag. We're going to be posting their flag, and their flag I did not know this ahead of time, is two keys crossed over each other with a wavy blue line, a thick wavy blue line, signifying a river going through it. Two keys. How appropriate is that? For the Florida Keys bartender, we picked a town, their flag has two keys on it.
Very nice.
Yep. And besides that, I found out, did you ever hear of a word called demonym? What a demonym is?
Oh, tell me.
Well, it's spelled DEMONYM. And, like homonym, synonym, whatever way you say that. That's what you call a person from. Like in the Keys, they're not called a Keysian; they're called a conch. Florida is a Floridian, Pennsylvania Texan, British, French, Spanish, whatever. In Leiderdorp, and in Leiderdorp, they're called a Leiderdorper or Leiderdorper. Leiderdorper.
Interesting.
Yes, I know. Not maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So they got 27,109 according to the census 2019, and one of their most famous people is Carice Van Houten, a Dutch actress and singer who you might know. Were you a big fan, Joe, of Game of Thrones?
Unfortunately, no. But
okay,
is this a person who acted in the series?
Yes, it is. And I thought she was just one of the English actors. And like I said before, the Dutch people are very sneaky, because you cannot tell when you're talking to them if you're speaking to someone they could be from Britain or they could be from the United States, because they may not have the accent. A lot of them learn English, I think, with a slight English accent. But it's Carice Van Houten is the actress who played the Red Priestess, Malisandre, in Game of Thrones. A major role in it. And I won't even tell you what happened, but they would call her nickname the Red Witch, and she's lovely. She's beautiful. She had beautiful red hair in it, and let me tell you, in the show, the carpets match the curtains, because they show the Game of Thrones being an HBO show was very, except it wasn't a hustler show, but it showed all that. And she was one of the two famous redheads in it. The other was the one that was the, oh Christ, I don't even know her name. And I shouldn't, people are going to beat me up over it, understand. But she was Malisandre, and she's a longtime partner of Guy Pearce, the Australian actor. You know Guy Pearce?
Yes, yes.
And they have a child together. Okay.
Well, there is one more famous. There is another famous person. I looked it up, and I couldn't believe he was from there.
Rembrandt?
No, Armin van Buuren, the world-renowned DJ, trance music DJ.
Oh, well, that is interesting. Thank you. And so I've Armin van Buuren. Any relation to the 8th president?
No, not that I know of. I
know
see
he's
any.
the 8th president because of Seinfeld. You know, because the Van Buren boys would flash the 8 sign. Van Buren. I guess Van Buren is definitely a Dutch name, and I imagine that would be a popular name it's in the province of South Holland, which seems to be in the central part of Holland. I don't know. And
is that what they're calling South Holland?
Yeah, and they call it West Holland. It looks like it's center. So I guess I guess maybe Amsterdam is further east, and everything to the west of it is called West Holland or whatever, West Netherlands. And we do hope they keep on listening. Maybe we'll get eventually. I am asking if you are a listener in Leiderdorp, please contact me with someone. I want to get someone directly on there. We'll add them to the phone call in the next week or so, and we'd like to do a brief interview with you. Okay, we're going to move on from there. But here, 2 thumbs up to Leiderdorp and all the Leiderdorpers.
Absolutely.
All the Leiderdorpers that listen to the show. Sorry for clearing my throat. Okay, so yesterday, I was telling you, Joe, I did an interview with a gentleman called Jerry Brazy. And he has a podcast out of Portland, Oregon. And he's a CEO of a company, and he also does motivational self-help. He has an interesting story. The guy comes from a very big family, and he was living on the streets when he was 17, and he created his own business. And now he just does motivational podcasts. He's a bit of a self-starter. So during the show, I don't know if I gave. He started talking about how I wanted, as a bartender, he asked me my bartending stories about drinks I like to make and all that stuff. And before we could get too deep into it, I let it be known. I don't know if I gave it to him in my biography that I was sober. And I just not that that really should change the interview much, but I didn't want to go and I wanted people to understand, even though that's part of me, it doesn't change me the way I feel about drinking, which is that's my job. I serve people and things like that. But while I was doing that, I was thinking about how do I describe my drinking, because he asked me about that. When did I decide I had a problem and all that stuff? And I decided that the best way to illustrate it, I was watching a TV show where the characters were doing a Mad-Lib. And yes, they were doing a Mad-Lib. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to do a Mad-Lib and see if it works. And I'll have you conduct it for me, okay? So for the first one, I'm going to want the first word will be a type of liquor, anything that has alcohol in it. It could be unique. It could be a particular one.
Anything with apple?
What? Alcohol.
Anything with alcohol. Okay. You want the type of bourbon?
Oh, Jesus. Okay. An activity.
Running.
Okay. An essential garment.
Let's say for women, an essential garment.
Yeah.
Panties.
Okay, I like that one. Okay. Give me a place, any place, except it's going to say any place, not a bedroom. It doesn't have to be a room. It could be a public site or anything, but not a bedroom.
A crosswalk.
Okay, crosswalk. I like that one. Okay. And a piece of furniture.
Dresser.
Okay. A personal possession.
Pocket knife.
Okay, a type of medical facility.
Clinic.
Okay. And a body part.
Toe.
So, okay, here we go. This is Jim's Drunken Mad-Lib. While Jim was having bourbon, he decided to go running. When he woke up, he had lost his panties in a crosswalk and fell asleep on a dresser. Jim had to look for his pocket knife so he could go. Jim had to look for his pocket knife so he could go to the clinic to get his toe looked at. There you go. That is an illustration on what drinking did for me. I'm going to do some more of this. I wrote that one up. That took about 5 minutes. I think I could do better with that Mad Libs. But I think I'm going to see. I probably won't bring that up in my a game we could do in AA. You know?
Yeah. They may still think you're drinking.
You're right. No, but I do drink a lot of coffee. While we're halfway through the show, I just want to give a pitch for my friends at Dekind CBD and CBG products. That's DAKIND. And if you ever need any CBD or CBG products, edibles, smokables, or oil, you can find it at www.dekind.com. And there's about 6 distributors down here in the Upper Keys you can find them at, but they'll be happy to send them to you also. Thank you very much. Back at you here. I was, I'll tell you a brief story of this. In Poland, Joe, I've gone to Poland regularly, and I was fascinated when I was over there at the type of music they listen to I love the Polish music, the Polish pop music. It's just like any pop music. It's good. There's bad. There's hacky stuff. I like it. But the stuff they like that's of English origin, there's popular ones, and they go for the top ones of that. And there's some weird ones from like 40 years ago that they're still. There's one called Lemon Tree. I guess that was big in Britain. But there was this other song, and I heard it. And the woman who sang had a beautiful voice. But the guy who sang it sounded like me at a karaoke session. He had a really rough voice. I never heard of the guy's name before, and I said, "Wow, they must really just listen to the melody." But I couldn't really explain how they could listen to the melody because this guy's voice was really bad. And I've heard Polish songs, and there was almost all those songs. The people sang Polish. I noticed their voices were very nice, very good, very melodic. This guy's was raspy and rough and kind of like a non-melodic Joe Cocker. Okay?
Yeah.
This guy.
Do you happen to recall, I don't know if you've ever heard it, but there was a very popular singer in Russia in the 60s and 70s that he sounded like he smoked 8 packs of cigarettes a day, and he was in perpetual pain. But he was singing, not a very nice voice, but it very passionate, I guess, the message. I don't speak Russian, but he was extremely popular. But what a horrible voice he had. They loved him.
This guy's Australian. This guy sings in English. And his name's Nick Cave. And the song is called "Where the Wild Roses Grow." And I was listening to it. I said it sounded like a love song. And I said, who the fuck would ever send this song to someone that cared? How would you dedicate this song? And for years, I first heard it when I first went to Poland back in 2009. I heard it on the radio station. I said, what the fuck is this all about? They really picked the worst song I ever heard. And then I heard it subsequent times every time I'm in Poland, and I hear it on the online because Abby listens to this radio station called Radio Z in Poland. It's their kind of like their iHeartRadio in Poland. And so the song's called "Where the Wild Roses Grow." Okay? And it was only yesterday or the day before I was listening to it, and I found out what it was saying. And then it made complete sense. And then I looked at the guy, and I thought, this guy's a genius.
Really? And it's in English?
Yeah. I'm going to give you the time. We can't play the song because of royalties, right? I hate that. I'm going to kind of do it real short. Okay, it's a guy and a girl singing a duet. It's Nick Cave and Kylie Minogue. You heard of Kylie Minogue, right? Hello? Are you there?
I heard.
You heard of Kylie Minogue?
Yes.
Okay, well, she's relatively famous. Okay, so it's called "Where the Wild Roses Grow," and it says, "They call me the Wild Rose, but my name was Eliza Day. Why they call me it, I do not know, for my name was Eliza Day." Now, the guy comes in, he has this really song. I'm going to sing it if I sing it, I'm going to sound better than that guy. From the first day I saw her, I knew she was the one. She stared in my eyes and smiled, for her lips were the color of roses that grew down the river all bloody and wild. Okay? Now, she comes in, and they talk about the first time they met. He knocked on my door, blah, 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 and when he knocked on my door and entered the room, my trembling subsided in his sure embrace. He would be my first man, and with a careful hand, he wiped the tears that ran down my face. And then she goes into, "They call me the Wild Rose, but my name was Eliza Day," and the stuff, the refrain. So the guy comes back in, and with his creepy voice, "On the second day I brought her a flower. She was more beautiful than any woman I've seen. I said, 'Do you know where the wild roses grow, so sweet and scarlet and free?'" Now, once again, the voice was real raspy. And then she comes in again. "On the second day he came with a single red rose, and he said, 'Will you give me your loss and your sorrow?' I nodded my head as I lay on the bed. 'If I show you the roses, will you follow?'" Then she goes in, "They call me the Wild Rose, blah, 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 blah." Now, on the third day, this is the one. On the third day, he took me to the river. He showed me the roses, and we kissed. The last thing I heard was a muttered word as he knelt above me with a rock in his fist. You get it?
Interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then he comes in on the last day I took her to where the wild roses grow. She lay on the bank, the wind light as a thief. I kissed her goodbye and said, all beauty must die. And I knelt. I guess he meant knelt down and planted a rose between her teeth. So he killed her. He killed her, and that was it. She ends up with the wild rose, and it was released on an album called by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds called Murder Ballads, and it is I didn't know that it's a genre of music called Murder Ballads, and I was surprised by the songs they had. You know, I was surprised, and you're going to give the history. I'm going to give you. You tell me what you learned, and then I'll tell you some of the songs.
Yeah, well, murder ballads go back to the Middle Ages as a means of communicating horrible stories, and of course, with all the plagues and the pestilence going on, Middle Ages not known for its medicine. It became something to put to words and music, the macabre, and of course, horrific acts committed by individuals.
And it says right there, it's also about deaths, murders of passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In in England, where it kind of took off that way. But yeah, when I looked into it, I didn't realize that the genre went back to the Middle Ages, and this has been a thing, evidently.
Yeah, like I guess Green Sleeves was that way, and the one about there was one about the Mary Queen of Scots, but the famous ones in English you might know is the song Tom Dooley, and that's like from the 50s about a guy who's going to his. It's not exactly it's a murder ballad, but guy gets a death penalty for murder. Lord Randall. Oh, Lord Randall, this is an interesting one. The guy that's singing it, while he's singing it, the lyrics slowly discovers that he's ill and discovers he's been poisoned, and he dies throughout the song. So, Lord Randall. I was saying, oh, how creative. He goes like this. I wrote, oh, my love, I wrote this for you because I know someday you might get sick of my shit and will poison me. Because I guess that was the thing that people used to do, poison. And to this day, they still do poisoning, even though, you know, it's really hard to get away with poisoning. You know?
Yeah.
You got to get a unique...
being one of those.
Yeah. And then there's... You ever seen the movie The Hunger Games?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually use this song in my spin class. It's called The Hanging Tree. The Hanging Tree. Yeah, are you going to the tree? Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, it was in The Hunger Games. The song Delilah by Tom Jones.
Is that a murder ballad?
Yeah, that's a murder ballad. Oh, 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 Delilah. You know, I think I'm not that big a fan of Tom Jones, but you know, I guess she either killed herself or he killed her. Delilah, you know, if you got a name like Delilah, you're probably having a very interesting life anyway. You know, I think so. I went out with a Delilah once for a brief. It was a briefest of brief nights, if you know what I mean. Hint, hint. Very exciting.
Was there money involved?
No, there was no money. You know, it sounds like that. Oh no. Oh no, it was Desiree. Her name was Desiree. Same kind of name, Desiree, Delilah.
It's like Desiree, Candy. What's another good stripper name?
Sabrina.
Well, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, those are all.
You know, I better be careful and say someone's name, and they're listening.
Yeah,
and they go, my name's Sabrina. I'm not a stripper or a hooker.
Yeah, but it's a great stripper name. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change the fact.
Yeah, it is. El Paso. Remember that song? Out in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a beautiful girl. a Mexican girl or something like that. And something happens and she gets shot and all that stuff. Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks, where the singer kills her abusive husband. That was a famous one about 15 years ago, or 20 years ago maybe. Jimi Hendrix song, Hey Joe.
Yeah.
What'd you do? Jack Straw, that's the Grateful Dead, but I think it's the one done with after what's his name died. Jerry Garcia died. The one that Grateful Dead with Bruce Hornsby. But Jack Straw. Janie's Got a Gun.
Yeah, but does Janie ever kill anyone in that song?
Yeah.
Does she?
Janie was sexually abused, and she killed her abuse. Janie was a young girl, and she was abused by an older man, I think. Mac the Knife. Mac the Knife?
Yes. Yeah.
Which was, what was that?
Bobby Darin.
Bobby Darin.
Bobby Darin.
That's originally a German song, that's a German song?
I had no idea.
Yeah, that came after World War II, and it's one of these things where everyone was emulating, because American culture was every place in the occupying place of the Axis powers and all that stuff in Germany and stuff. Everyone was emulating the Americans. The Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen. I didn't know that. Nebraska. And the most famous rock ballad, I would call it the most famous rock ballad of all time that everyone sings, and you probably know it. It's a rock opera type music.
Oh, what's that?
You know it. Queen.
Oh, good God. That's, help me out with the name of the song.
Name of a German region. Southern Germany. Also a nickname for someone who's artistic. Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes. Good job, man. I drew a blank on that one.
Well, no, I figured I'd help you to it so you can find it. It's always better for me. Because I always have, I don't know if it's just the way I think or not, but sometimes I have a hard time getting to the end of something or finding the words. And I accuse it of having so much knowledge in my head, but it could be an early onset. I hate to joke about it, but it's possible. It's always a possibility. And I don't want to be caught flat-footed and say, "Wow, the guy did have signs of dementia, and he was showing it on the podcast." So that was me. I mean, it's things that I know. I said I know what it is. I just can't remember the name. I could remember the name of someone, but there's tons of songs like that. There's tons of songs. When I said Murder Ballads, and I go, wow, that's kind of weird. And I thought the guy Nick Cave was weird. And then I did a little research of the guy, and the guy says, the guy is brilliant. Kind of like, you ever hear of a singer named Tom Waits, a songwriter, Tom Waits?
Waits?
Yeah, Waits, Tom Waits.
Didn't he have a band in the 80s?
Yeah, there was another guy by a similar name.
Was it Tom Waits? Was it The Fix? Is that the same Tom Waits? Or am I talking about someone different?
I think maybe, because this guy does not have a nice voice. Did you ever see Bram Stoker's Dracula? The movie with Keanu Reeves and what's that hot? What's her name?
Yeah. But you know what? I don't even think I finished that movie. I just probably turned it off.
He was the assistant to Dracula. He was stuck in a prison cell and stuff like that. But he's been in a lot of movies. He's kind of really kind of weird, and he wrote a lot of songs that are kind of drinking songs. Do you know Charles Bukowski? Who Charles Bukowski was?
Nope.
He was a friend of the guy that beat. He was like one of the beat poets. He was a writer in the 60s and 70s. Charles Bukowski, who was friends with the guy that did. He was like Jack Kerouac in that group and all that.
Right.
And this guy, Charles Bukowski, was barely employable. He was on the outside fringes of the Literary Society. Well, Tom Waits is the musical equivalent to that. And for some reason, they found him, and he's been in movies. He's always kind of like playing he's a character actor, but he also wrote this amazing music. And he's like this guy, Nick Cave. And Nick Cave originally was in a band, and I guess Nick Cave's around 61 right now. And when he first came out, it was kind of a punk band, right? Kind of a punk. But they were called, his band was called The Most Violent Band. The Most Violent. No, it wasn't the title. The critics called it The Most Violent Band that performed.
Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they beat people up or anything like that. It's just the way they played their music and addressed the things. And I was just looking at the guy, and I said, he's not really good looking. He's kind of like dark, maybe darkly handsome and stuff like that. But the guy actually, one of those few people, Nick Cave, that actually found his spot in life. And he made a whole album of murder, and he wasn't a big hit in the United States. That song, Where the Wild Roses Grow, that was probably in certain outcast areas of U.S. culture, like certain places, L.A., Chicago, New York, there's certain scenes. I'm sure that was popular, right? But where it really got big, and it didn't even reach number one there, was Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, Britain, Australia. Not so much in Australia, but outside his country. And I said, wow, what a creative soul. And, it's somewhat, maybe it's somewhat violent imagery, and maybe it's misogynistic and stuff like that, but he got Kylie Minogue. He got Kylie Minogue to sing a duet with him, who she was much more famous than he was at that time. And the guy did it. And to this day, that song plays. Now people are going to look at it, and they're going to look at it, and they're going to look at it in a different light. It's going to open up a whole series of stories. And they say, wow, there's a reason why this happened. There's a reason why these songs were popular, because they tell a story.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm impressed. I originally when I heard it, I thought, you guys, and why in Poland? Why in Poland they like that? Maybe because the royalties, you don't have to pay a lot of money for royalties to play it or something like that. But I think it's playing on a Polish station, and more than half the people that are listening to it don't understand English. So someone probably says, what's that song about? And people say, that song is about a guy that takes a girl on one date and decides to murder her. Damn God. How dark. I know, I just went on, I just how dark I was. And I'm not saying the imagery, murder, and all that stuff, not good, but it tells a story. And there's always stories, and you can't say our culture isn't immune to it. It's one of the things we like to do. We like to be intrigued. So that intrigued me. That really got me. So.
Well, yeah. When you earlier when you told me about Murder Ballads, I thought, is this something new? And then when I looked into it, I was fascinated. It's a cultural expression. It's a genre. It's been around forever.
Yep. Eventually, it's a big enough world out there. It's a big enough world, and because of the internet, there's genres, and now there's subgenres, right?
Oh, yeah.
We did this show that there's people out there that are furries. Furries. We talked about that. Before the internet, there were furries, but after the internet, a furry is, someone that gets turned on for dressing up like a stuffed animal. and they actually have intercourse together and they do things together, dressed like that. And there's all sorts of ones, and there'll be other songs, and there'll be songs about people. Eventually, I mean, there's a billion people out there. The more people get the internet, there'll be a song up there describing foreign objects people had stuck up their ass.
Someone will write a song about it. There's no doubt.
Well, song. I said there's going to be a subgenre about it. There'll be all different ones, and why that happened, and all that stuff. I went to the emergency room, tried to explain how a 4-inch replica of the Statue of Liberty got stuck up my ass, and then go on like that, and then there'll be another one that says, "My darling brought me a banana, all frozen and thing," and like that, and it'll be all, and it'll. It's a bold prediction, and I hope years from now they ever uncover it and say, "This guy came up with it." Yeah. This guy came up with it. Hey, they started doing it already. I just realized when I was saying it. I thought I didn't write this down, Joe. There was on Saturday Night Live, Chance the Rapper. They did a bit on Saturday Night Live last year, and it was about him. Liking to have his butt electrified, and he dies. And it's actually a murder ballad too. Oh my God, it's tied together. And he dies when he climbs up on the roof of a house and sticks a pole in his ass during a thunderstorm. It was called. It was these. The bit was. All these couples walking through a graveyard, and these 4 ghosts come out, and they sing the songs of their demise, right?
Right.
And one's a ship captain, and the other is a woman who was being romanced by guys in the 1800s, and her gown caught on fire by candles, and another something else happened to some other guy, but then Chance comes up and starts singing. Well, I really don't feel like singing this. We'll just pass along. And people say, "Wait, you can't skip this." And he tells his story, and it actually rhymes perfectly. He goes, "When I was a little boy," and it says like this. "I liked the tingle feeling when I sat on it." He sat on an outlet or something like that, and got a little buzz, and I liked the feeling. And what could be a bigger shock than the one that comes out of the sky? And he sings that one, and all the ghosts are staring at him. He goes, "Oh my God, that's outrageous." So, I mean, sometimes I think I'm coming up with something original, and that's what I worry about. Like I said, that's why I worry about being derivative, and I will call myself out. I was somewhat derivative on that claim that I came up with that idea. But maybe it's not a genre yet, so maybe I can still claim that. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Well, Joe, I'd like to thank you. Do you have any big plans for today and the rest of the week?
No. Probably not until the week after next, I believe. The release date for my book has been set for the 17th of this month, so I'll let you know more about it as we get
when that comes up, I'll be happy to post that for our listeners, because like I said, we have literally tens and tens of people available.
Yes, absolutely. That's always a good thing. But as far as stuff to do today, I'm going to go run my partner some coffee at work, and then maybe sit in front of my computer and see if I can scratch out another chapter of my next book.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for being here. Don't hop off. I want to talk to you later. I'm just going to play the music. And
sure thing.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank the listeners for listening today. We'd like to thank, once again, our sponsors. You can go onto our website to find Bellissima Wines. Go to keysbartender.com. Look for sponsors. You can find Bellissima Wines under the section called sponsors, and you go through the link there if you'd like to purchase some of their fine Prosecco and sparkling white wine. Also, I'll post in the show notes the website thekind.com, and they're the wonderful producers of CBD and CBG products. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back soon.